The sky was gray when Commander Ryan and his team stepped onto the ruined ground of the alien village. Silent dust floated in the air, as if the world itself was trying to hide what had happened here. Burned homes stood in broken shapes. Metal beams lay twisted like soft clay. Nothing moved. No voice, no sign of life. Ryan walked slowly between the fallen walls while his team scanned the area. Every step felt heavier than the last. They had come after a distress signal and hoped to rescue survivors. But the village looked as if hope had already left long ago. Ryan raised his hand to stop the team. Something was standing near the center of the ruins. At first it looked like a stone shape or a shadow. Then it moved. A tall figure stepped forward holding something close to her chest. The figure was an alien woman. Thin body, faint blue skin, long dark hair covered in dust. Her arms wrapped around a small child who pressed a face into her shoulder. Ryan could hear the child breathing fast like someone trying not to cry. The alien mother looked at Ryan and then slowly walked toward him. She did not run or tremble. She moved with a strange calm, even though fear shone in her eyes. Ryan felt a cold chill run down his back. Something was wrong. Something had chased her. He could feel it in the air. The silence was not natural. It was hiding something. When she came close, she lowered her head slightly. It was not a bow of respect. It was something else. An action of surrender. The team exchanged worried looks, but Ryan waited. The woman lifted her face again, and her voice shook as she spoke. "Take me. Protect my child." Those simple words cut through the dust and hit Ryan harder than any weapon. Her voice was soft but full of pain. She was not bargaining. She was not asking for a ride. She was offering herself. Ryan looked at her child. A small girl with glowing marks on her skin. The marks pulsed with a faint light like fire under water. The girl clung to her mother and stared at Ryan with wide, frightened eyes. He felt her fear like a weight on his chest. Behind the mother, the ruins felt darker. Like the shadows were watching. Ryan tried to speak, but the woman stepped closer and pushed the child forward slightly. Her hands shook, but her voice stayed firm. "Save her. If you must choose, then save her. Take me if it keeps her safe." Ryan had never seen a mother offer herself like this. The team stood frozen. No one knew how to answer. Then the ground under them trembled. Soft at first, then stronger. A low scrape echoed from behind the broken houses. Something heavy was moving. Something alive. Ryan raised his rifle, and the team formed a defensive line. The alien mother pulled her child close again. Her breath became uneven, like someone preparing for the end. Ryan asked her what was coming, but she could not speak. Her eyes were on the ruins. She had seen it before. She had watched it hunt. And now it had returned. A shadow moved between fallen walls. Slow, silent. As if it was choosing its moment. Ryan felt fear rise in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. He took the child gently from the mother's arms. The child shook but did not fight. She pressed her small hands against his armor. Her glowing marks pulsed faster. Like warning lights, the mother looked at Ryan with a silent plea. She believed only humans could save her child now. She believed she might not live through the next minutes. Ryan nodded to her. It was a promise. No matter what came from the shadows, he would protect the child. The tremble in the ground grew again. Rocks rolled from broken roofs. A long, deep growl echoed across the ruins. Ryan felt it travel through his bones. The mother stepped beside him, as if to face the danger with him. Even though she had already offered herself, Ryan ordered his team to move back toward the dropship. The child held him tighter. Her glowing marks lit up his chest armor. The mother walked close behind him. She did not look back. She did not run. Her steps were slow but steady. She had accepted whatever fate waited for her. Her only fear was for her child Dot As they reached the open path leading to the dropship, the creature appeared at last. A tall black shape rose behind the ruins. Its body looked almost like stone with cracks of faint red light beneath. Its eyes glowed softly. Its steps shook the ground. It was not running. It was hunting. And it had followed the scent of the child. Ryan knew then why the mother had offered herself. She knew the creature wanted the child. She knew it would not stop until it reached her. The mother whispered, "Take her higher to the sky." She did not care what happened to her. She only wanted her child far from the creature. Ryan carried the child into the dropship while the mother stepped between him and the creature, as if to slow it even for a second. Smoke rose around her. Dust swirled from the creature's steps. Ryan shouted for her to move inside. She looked back once at her child. Only once. Then she ran toward the ship as the creature leaned forward ready to strike. The dropship door closed as the creature reached them. The metal rang like thunder. The child screamed and her glowing marks flashed bright. Ryan held her close and raised his rifle. The mother stood behind him, breathing hard. She looked at her child and then at Ryan. Her face showed fear but also trust. She had given her life into human hands. Outside, the creature growled again. The village shook. The danger had only begun. The dropship lifted slowly from the ground, but the tension inside felt heavier than the metal under their feet. Commander Ryan held the child close while the alien mother sat beside him, with shaking hands pressed against her knees. Her eyes never left the door, as if she believed the creature could break through any moment. The child kept her face hidden in Ryan's chest. Her glowing marks pulsed gently like a heartbeat in the dark. The pilot pushed the engines to rise higher, but the ship kept shaking. Something scraped against the underside. A sharp sound. Not metal on stone, but claws on steel. The team looked at Ryan with wide eyes. Whatever had followed them was directly under the dropship. Ryan signaled the team to hold steady. No one moved. The mother covered her mouth to silence her own breath. She knew the creature better than any of them. She had seen it destroy half her village. She had seen it hunt through fire and smoke as if nothing could touch it. She had seen it take lives with no sound, no warning. Now it was beneath the ship, scratching the metal like it was testing its strength. The pilot whispered that they were not rising fast enough. Weight was pulling them down. Ryan felt the ship tilt for a moment and then level again. The creature was climbing. They were still in the danger zone. Ryan looked at the mother. Her eyes carried a message even before she spoke. If the creature reached her child, the ship would fall. Ryan placed the child gently in the mother's arms and moved toward the back hatch. The child reached after him with a small hand glowing slightly, but he turned away. He had no choice. He had to push the creature off before it dragged them back into the ruins. The ship trembled harder as he reached the hatch. A deep thud hit the metal from below. The team braced themselves. Dust fell from the ceiling. The growl from under them was louder now. It shook the floor. The creature was climbing the landing gear, trying to reach the inner frame. Ryan signaled the pilot to unlock the hatch but not to open it fully. Just enough to see the danger. The hatch slid a few inches. A blast of cold air rushed in. Ryan looked down. Through the gap he saw a flash of dark skin and red cracks. The creature was clinging to the ship like a living shadow. Its claws were curved like hooks. Its muscles moved like ropes of stone. It looked up and Ryan saw its eyes pale and hungry. The mother cried out his name, but her voice was low and shaky. She knew she could not stop him. She also knew he was doing this for her child. Ryan steadied himself and fired a stun round through the gap. The shot hit the creature, but it only roared and dug its claws deeper into the metal. The ship dipped for a moment. Sparks flew from the engine frame. Ryan fired again. This time the creature slipped slightly, but held on. Ryan felt sweat roll down his neck. He needed a harder hit. He switched the rifle to maximum charge. He aimed at the creature's arm and fired a bright round. The blast pushed the creature backward. Its claws scraped a sharp line in the metal. For a moment, it hung from only one arm. Then Ryan struck again. The creature lost its grip. It fell back toward the ground, hitting the ruins with a heavy crash. The dropship shook free and rose sharply. The pilot pulled them higher into the dim sky. The creature lay below, surrounded by dust and broken stone. But even from the air it was clear it was not dead. It stood again, slow and steady. It watched them rise. It did not chase. It simply stared as if waiting for their return. Ryan locked the hatch and walked back to the mother and child. The mother looked shaken, but her eyes showed relief when she saw him still standing. The child reached for him again, and he took her hand gently. Her glowing marks dimmed with calm. Ryan asked the mother why the creature was hunting them. She hesitated before answering. Her words were soft but carried old pain. The creature is not just a hunter. It is bound to protect something buried under our land. When the attack came, it changed. It saw my child and it marked her. The glowing marks on the child pulsed again. The mother closed her eyes as if the memory hurt too much. My people believed the creature served an ancient power. Now it wants my child because she carries something it recognizes. Ryan felt a cold heaviness settle inside him. The creature was not chasing them without reason. It was following something inside the child. Something powerful. Something the humans did not understand. The mother looked at Ryan with tired eyes. She had offered herself because she knew the creature would never stop. She feared the humans would reject the child or fear her. But Ryan only held the child closer. He told her she was safe now. The mother exhaled slowly, as if finally believing she was not alone in this fight. Outside the window, the creature still watched from far below. The danger had not ended. It was only beginning. The dropship moved through the gray sky with steady speed. But inside the cabin, the air felt tight and heavy. Commander Ryan sat across from the alien mother while the child rested in his lap. The glowing marks on her arms and neck pulsed with a soft light. It looked peaceful from a distance, but up close the light felt strange, warm and cold at the same time. Ryan had seen many alien species, but he had never seen a child carry energy like this. The mother watched her daughter with quiet fear. She did not blink. She did not allow her hands to shake, even though her face showed the weight of worry. Ryan could sense she was hiding something. Not out of mistrust, but out of guilt or pain. She held herself like someone who had already lost too much. The pilot announced that they were 10 minutes from the human forward base. The team relaxed slightly, but Ryan stayed alert. The child shifted in his arms and placed her small glowing hand on his chest plate. The light spread across his armor in thin lines. It hummed softly like a distant echo. Ryan felt a sharp sensation at the back of his neck, as if something unseen had passed through him. The mother gasped when she saw it. Ryan asked what the marks meant. The mother hesitated and then answered in a low voice. The marks appeared after the first attack. No one understood them. We believed they were a sign of sickness or curse. But the creature reacted to them like they were precious. Like they belonged to something older than our village. Her voice cracked as she spoke. My people feared the child. They told me to hide her, but it was too late. Ryan looked at the child again. She was calm now, but her eyes had the stillness of someone who understood more than she should. It felt strange to think that this small girl was the reason a creature had nearly dragged their ship back to the ground. Ryan wondered if the creature wanted to harm her or bring her somewhere. The mother had said it needed her for something ancient, something buried beneath their land. The child suddenly lifted her head and placed her glowing hand over Ryan's wrist. A soft light spread around his skin until it formed a faint circle. It did not hurt. It only tingled. Ryan felt his thoughts sharpen. His heartbeat slowed. His vision cleared. The child looked at him with steady eyes as if she was trying to show something. The mother whispered that the child had never done this before. Her voice shook with fear and wonder mixed together. Ryan asked if the child could control it. The mother shook her head. It happens when she feels fear or safety. She reacts to the world around her. She does not understand it. She is only a child. She looked at Ryan. Maybe she feels safe with you. That idea surprised him. But the child rested her head against his chest as if agreeing. The ship shook slightly as it entered a cloud layer. The team grabbed the rails. A pulse of light flashed across the child's skin as if she sensed danger. The mother reached out, but the child held on to Ryan, without moving from his arms. When the ship cleared the clouds, the human base came into view. A large structure of metal walls, bright lights, and shield towers. It looked strong and safe, but Ryan knew that the creature they saw was strong enough to break stone. If it followed them this far, the base was only the first line of defense. As the dropship landed, soldiers rushed forward. Medical teams arrived with scanners and blankets. They guided the mother and child into a private chamber. Ryan followed close behind, still feeling the faint circle of light on his wrist. The medical officers stopped in shock when they saw the glowing marks on the child. They scanned her quickly. The readouts confused them. One doctor whispered that the child carried an unknown energy signature older than their database records. The mother lowered her head with shame. She believed the humans saw her child as dangerous. But Ryan stood beside them and told the team to proceed with care. No one should treat the child as a threat. As they studied the markings, the glow on the child grew brighter. It illuminated the walls around them. A hum filled the chamber like a machine activating. The soldiers stepped back. The mother covered her mouth. Ryan moved closer to the child. The light formed slow patterns across her skin like symbols or maps. The mother whispered the truth she had been holding inside. When the attacks began, my people discovered an old chamber under our land. The creature came from that chamber. It protects something older than any of us. And when it saw my child, its behavior changed. It marked her as the next heir. A keeper of that ancient power. Ryan felt a deep chill. The child in his arms was not just a survivor. She was carrying something the creature wanted. Something ancient enough to draw danger across worlds. The child squeezed his hand gently as the glow faded. Ryan looked at the mother. Her eyes held fear, but also a small hope. She had trusted humans because she had no one else left. Ryan understood now. The creature would not stop. It would come again for the child. And it would come soon. The forward base was filled with quiet tension when the medical team finished their first scans. The child rested on a small cot with soft blankets around her. The glowing marks on her skin had dimmed, but they still pulsed from time to time like something alive inside. Her was waiting for the right moment to wake again. The mother sat beside her holding her small hand. She watched every breath as if she feared the child might disappear if she blinked. Commander Ryan stood near the doorway speaking with his team. The base was secure, but the creature they had seen was unlike anything in their records. It moved with purpose. It tracked the child with intelligence, not hunger. Ryan knew it would not stop at the edge of the village. It would cross land, sky, and distance to reach what it wanted. He looked at the child again and felt the same heavy responsibility settle over him. Protecting her was no longer a simple mission. It was a promise he had made to her mother. A promise he felt deep in his chest. The alarm lights flashed without warning. A sharp sound echoed through the halls. The pilot's voice crackled through the speakers. Unknown energy signature approaching from the south. High speed. Closing in. Ryan felt the air tighten. He turned to the mother. Her face lost all color. "The creature has found us," she whispered. She held the child closer and stood up. Ryan ordered evacuation procedures. Soldiers moved quickly, forming a protective line around the medical chamber. They guided the mother and child toward the exit. The glowing marks on the child brightened, as if reacting to the danger outside. The hum inside the room returned soft but steady. The base trembled under a distant impact. Something massive had struck the outer wall. Dust fell from the ceiling. The child pressed her face into the mother's shoulder with a small frightened sound. The mother whispered comfort, but her voice shook. Ryan led them down the corridor toward the landing platform. The dropship was waiting with engines warm. The night sky above was clear, but filled with the red flash of warning lights. The cold wind carried a sharp smell of metal and dust. The soldiers moved quickly, forming a shield around the mother and child. Another impact shook the ground. This one closer. The walls shuddered. Ryan looked back and saw a large crack split down the far side of the main structure. A low growl rolled through the air like thunder. Even from this distance, it carried a weight that made the team freeze for half a second. The creature was inside the perimeter. Ryan shouted for everyone to move faster. The mother held the child tightly against her chest. The child's glowing marks were no longer soft. They shined bright enough to light the hallway walls. The hum grew stronger. When they reached the platform, the dropship door opened. The pilot waved them inside. Ryan pushed the mother forward gently. She stepped in first. The child reached for Ryan again, her small hand glowing brightly. He took it for a moment and felt the strange energy move through him again. It sharpened his senses and steadied his mind. The mother looked at him with wide eyes filled with fear and trust. A sudden crash exploded behind them. The creature leaped onto the outer platform. Its body rose through the dust like a living mountain. Cracks of red light glowed across its skin. Its eyes locked on the child. Soldiers fired stun rounds, but the creature did not stop. It walked through the smoke as if nothing touched it. Ryan ordered the pilot to lift off immediately. The dropship rose, but the creature jumped and grabbed the edge of the platform, trying to pull itself upward. The base shook under its weight. Ryan closed the dropship door just as a massive claw scraped across it, leaving deep marks in the metal. Inside the ship, the mother covered the child's eyes. The glowing marks dimmed as the child buried her face against her mother. Ryan stood between them and the door, gripping the rail as the ship tilted sharply to escape. The creature tried to leap again, but the dropship rose high enough to avoid it. The engines roared. The night sky swallowed them as the base shrank below. Ryan looked through the small window. The creature stood at the broken platform, watching them rise. It did not run. It did not roar. It simply watched with steady eyes that burned like distant stars. Mother sat on the floor, clutching the child. She whispered words from her language, soft and broken. Ryan sat across from her, breathing heavily. He felt the weight of what had just happened. The creature had crossed miles to reach them. It had entered a fortified base without fear. It would not stop. It would come again. Ryan looked at the child. Her glowing marks flickered like quiet embers. She looked back at him with tired eyes. In that moment, he understood something simple and heavy. Protecting her was no longer a mission. It was a bond. The night sky outside was calm, but the danger that followed them was not gone. It was only growing. The dropship reached the main human base just before sunrise. The sky was pale and quiet, but no one on board felt safe. The creature had followed them across broken land. It had broken the outer wall of the forward base. It had watched them leave with eyes that seemed to understand far more than a simple beast. Commander Ryan kept thinking about those eyes while the ship descended. They held patience. They held intention. They held a message. It was not finished. Inside the base, medical teams rushed to examine the alien mother and her child again. The child lay on a narrow bed while scanners moved above her. The glowing marks on her skin pulsed in slow waves. Not bright like before, but steady and controlled. Almost like she was resting while something inside her stayed awake. The mother sat beside her with both hands on the child's arm. Every time the glow brightened, she tightened her grip. She still breathed like someone fighting panic. She looked toward Ryan every few moments. Fear lived in her eyes, but something else had begun to appear. Trust, small and fragile but real. Ryan spoke quietly with the lead scientist. The readings showed the child carried an energy they could not classify. It was not radiation, not infection, not technology. It behaved like it belonged to a living system, something intelligent and ancient. The symbols formed by the glowing marks were not random. They followed patterns seen in old star maps found on distant ruins. Patterns that had no known origin. Ryan approached the mother. She took a slow breath as if preparing herself. She knew he needed answers. She also knew she could not hide the truth anymore. She looked at her sleeping child, and then at him. "There was a chamber under our land," she said. Her voice was quiet and steady. It was buried for centuries, and no one dared open it. But when the attacks began, the ground split, and the chamber revealed itself. My people entered it searching for shelter. Instead, they found the creature, the guardian. The mother paused as if the memory still burned in her mind. Ryan listened carefully. "The guardian was not meant to harm us," she continued. "It was meant to protect the power in the chamber." But when the child touched a stone inside the chamber, the marks appeared on her skin. The guardian reacted. It saw her as the next heir, the next keeper of the ancient power. And everything changed. Ryan felt a heavy silence form around them. He looked at the child. The glowing marks were soft now, but carried the shape of something old, something that reached beyond any human record. He asked the mother if the creature wanted the child to protect the power or use her. The mother shook her head. "It does not want to harm her. It wants to claim her," she said. "It wants to take her back to the chamber. It believes she must finish something that began long before our time. And if she refuses or is taken away, it will keep chasing her until the end of its strength." Ryan understood now why she had offered herself. She believed humans could save the child by taking her far from the guardian. She believed she might not survive the journey. Her sacrifice was not desperation. It was strategy. It was love in its strongest form. The child stirred slightly. Her hand reached toward Ryan, even in her sleep. The glowing marks followed the movement like soft ripples on water. Ryan stepped closer and gently touched her hand. The pulse of energy rose again, moving through his fingers. Warm, clear, focused. It felt like a message without words. A connection. The mother watched the moment with wide eyes. She had never seen the child react like that to anyone else. She took a slow breath and spoke again. "My people feared her," she said. "They believed carrying the ancient mark meant danger. They believed the guardian would destroy everything to reach her. They were not wrong. But you protected her without fear. You faced the guardian with no promise of survival. She trusts you." Ryan felt the weight of her words. He was a soldier. He had carried children before during evacuations. He had seen fear and survival many times. But this was different. This child was tied to something older than their species. Something that would not stop reaching for her. The scientist approached with new readings. The energy inside the child was rising. Not dangerously but steadily. Something was waking inside her. Something that responded to distance from the chamber. The scientist warned that if the guardian felt this rise, it might try to track them again. Ryan looked at the mother. She looked back with calm acceptance. She had told him everything. There were no more secrets. He made a decision in that moment. A simple one. A human one. He was not going to let the guardian take the child. Not today. Not ever. The mother's eyes softened. She understood his choice without him speaking a word. She reached for her child's hand and whispered that they were not alone. any more. But outside the base walls, the morning wind carried a faint, distant tremor. Something was moving across the land again. The Guardian had begun its hunt once more. The morning sun had barely touched the horizon when the base alarm began to ring. A deep, steady sound echoed through the halls. Soldiers rushed into defensive positions. Commanders shouted orders. The ground felt alive under their feet, as if something heavy was crossing the land outside the walls. Commander Ryan knew the sound before anyone spoke. The Guardian had found them again. It had crossed miles of barren ground through night and darkness only to reach the child. Inside the medical wing, the alien mother held her daughter close. The child's glowing marks brightened without warning. Soft pulses moved across her skin in rolling waves. She did not cry, but she clung to her mother's neck with both arms. She felt the Guardian drawing near. She felt it the same way a heartbeat feels a drum. The mother whispered calming words, but her voice trembled. Ryan entered the room with a steady but tense expression. He looked at the child, and then at the mother. "The base walls will not hold for long," he said. "The creature is not attacking out of rage. It is searching. It will break everything until it finds her." The mother already knew this. Her eyes were filled with quiet fear. She asked him what they could do. Ryan did not answer right away. He turned toward the window. Outside the base, a massive shadow moved beyond the outer shield. The Guardian's form rose like a dark tower against the morning sky. Cracks of red light glowed across its stone-like skin. It walked with slow, steady steps as if nothing on the surface could challenge it. Soldiers fired warning rounds, but the Guardian did not react. It pushed forward until the shield bent under its weight. The humming of the force field filled the air. Sparks flickered. The Guardian was testing it. The child lifted her head. Her glowing marks rose with bright light. A soft hum filled the room. Ryan felt the circle on his wrist respond with a faint pulse. The child looked at him with the quiet understanding of someone who knew she was the reason lives were now at risk. The mother touched his arm. Her voice was soft and breaking. "Please keep her safe. Even if I cannot survive this." She looked at her child with love that had endured fear, loss, and endless running. Her entire world lived in those small glowing hands. If the Guardian reached her, the mother knew she might never see her daughter again. Ryan shook his head. "You will both live," he said. He spoke with certainty he did not feel, but he would turn that doubt into action. He ordered the team to move the mother and child deeper into the base toward the reinforced chamber. Soldiers lined the halls, creating a shield around them. The Guardian struck the outer wall. The entire base shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lights flickered. The sound was deep and heavy, like the earth cracking under pressure. The soldiers braced themselves. The Guardian struck again. And again. Each strike closer to breaking through. Ryan walked beside the mother and child as they moved toward the chamber. The humming from the child's marks grew stronger. She pressed her glowing hand against Ryan's wrist again. The light spread in a thin circle. He felt a surge of clarity. His nerves steadied. His breath grew even. It was as if the child was sharing a piece of her strength with him. They reached the reinforced chamber and entered quickly. The doors sealed behind them. The room was lit with soft pale lights and thick metal walls. But even here the ground shook with each strike from the Guardian. The mother held the child against her chest. The child's glow illuminated the room with soft shifting patterns. Ryan placed his hand on the chamber door. He listened to the distant rumble as the Guardian moved through the base. It was not killing soldiers. It was not destroying blindly. It was searching. Every movement felt like a compass pointing toward the child. The Guardian broke through the inner wall near the main hall. A thunderous sound rolled through the corridors. Soldiers fired, but the rounds sparked harmlessly off its skin. It kept moving forward, guided by the light inside the child. The base trembled with every step. The humming in the chamber grew louder. The child squeezed her mother's hand and then looked directly at Ryan as if asking for protection without speaking. Ryan stood between them and the door. His hand rested on the rail. He listened as the guardian drew closer. The metal walls groaned under the force of its steps. Ryan knew the creature would find the chamber soon. The mother whispered, "Take her and run if you must. Do not let it take her." Her words were steady, but her breath shook. She was ready to give herself again. She was ready to face the creature alone. But Ryan stepped closer and shook his head. "No," he said. "You made a deal with me. I promised to protect your child. I will keep that promise. And I will not let you stand alone." His voice carried a quiet strength. The mother stared at him with wide, grateful eyes. The guardian reached the corridor outside the chamber. Its heavy steps echoed like slow drums. The child's marks glowed bright enough to paint the walls in shifting patterns. The air vibrated around them. Ryan took a deep breath and stepped forward, his body becoming the final line between the child and the creature. The moment was still, silent, heavy. The guardian raised its arm and placed a single massive hand on the chamber door. The door began to bend. The chamber door bent inward with a slow, heavy sound. Metal groaned like an injured creature. Dust fell from the ceiling in thin lines. The alien mother held her child tightly and stepped back, though there was nowhere left to run. The child's glowing marks brightened until the room felt washed in quiet light. Commander Ryan stood in front of them with his hands clenched at his sides, ready to give everything he had for one promise he had made. The guardian pushed again. The door cracked wider. A pale red glow from its body spilled into the chamber like a warning. Its eyes shined through the opening, fixed on the child. Not wild, not hateful, focused, determined. The guardian did not want destruction. It wanted the air it had marked. It wanted the child to return to the ancient chamber beneath the broken village. The mother understood this. Ryan understood it too. But understanding did not matter. The child was under human protection now. The guardian forced the door open enough to step inside. The ground shook under its weight. Its body filled the entrance like a dark living mountain. The mother cried out and pulled the child tighter. The child reached one glowing hand toward Ryan, as if asking him not to leave her. Ryan felt the pulse of her energy move through the air. It settled into his chest and steadied his breath. The guardian stepped forward slowly. Each footfall felt like a deep drum echoing through the chamber walls. Soldiers outside tried to reach them, but the collapsed corridor blocked their path. It was Ryan alone between the creature and the child. Ryan raised his hand. Not in attack. In warning. "Enough," he said in a calm, steady voice. The guardian paused. It tilted its head as if studying him. The glowing lines on its skin shifted like slow fire. It was listening. Ryan took one step closer. The mother gasped, but he kept moving. The guardian lowered its heavy arm toward him. Not to strike. To move him aside. It saw him as an obstacle, not a threat. But Ryan refused to move. The child behind him pressed her glowing hand against the air, as if pushing her strength into his back. The pulse grew stronger. Ryan felt the light on his wrist rise again in a steady ring. The guardian saw it. It focused on the circle of light created by the child. Ryan understood what the creature wanted without words. It believed the child was the next keeper of the ancient power. It believed Ryan was only delaying what must happen. The guardian moved forward again. Ryan stepped directly into its path. "You will not take her," he said. His voice carried simple truth. Not anger. Not fear. Only determination. The guardian lifted its arm, ready to remove him. The mother cried out for Ryan to step back. But the child raised both glowing hands toward the guardian. The light from her skin rose in a wave. It filled the room with a warm, pulsing glow. The Guardian stopped mid-movement. Its eyes widened. The light from the child traveled across the floor like water flowing toward the creature. The Guardian lowered its arms slowly. It stared at the child with something that looked like recognition. The pulse of the light beat in a steady rhythm. Ryan watched as the glow reached the Guardian's feet. The creature did not pull away. It stood still as the light moved up its legs, past its chest, to its head. It was not an attack. It was communication. The child stepped forward from her mother's arms. Her glowing marks brightened. She looked directly at the Guardian. For a moment, the room was silent. The creature lowered its head slightly as if acknowledging her presence. The child's glow softened. The Guardian stepped back slowly. The light faded from its body. It no longer pushed forward. It no longer reached for her. It seemed to accept that she was safe, that the humans were not harming the air it had been trying to claim. The creature turned toward the broken door. It paused once more, looking at Ryan. Its eyes no longer burned with the same fierce energy. There was something calmer in them, a silent understanding. Then it walked out of the chamber with slow, steady steps. The soldiers outside raised their weapons, but Ryan lifted his hand. "Do not fire," he said. The Guardian passed through the hall and disappeared into the broken sunrise outside the base. Inside the chamber, the mother fell to her knees holding her child. Tears rolled down her face, but her expression was filled with relief. The child looked at Ryan and reached her glowing hand toward him again. When he touched it, the circle of light appeared faintly on his wrist. A small sign that their bond was real and shared. Ryan knelt in front of them. "You are safe now," he said. The mother nodded, her voice soft. "Because humans protect more than their own. They protect what is right." The child leaned against her mother. The glowing marks dimmed to a soft shimmer. The base slowly returned to quiet. Soldiers cleared debris. Commanders reset security. But the heart of the story rested in the chamber with a mother, a child, and the human who kept his promise. The Guardian was gone for now. But the ancient power inside the child was still awake. And Ryan knew their journey was only beginning.